The crowd inside the galactic combat arena buzzed like thunder trapped in glass. Across the shimmering dome of the Tarn Dominion's grand arena, 12 of the galaxy's strongest young warriors stood locked in fierce virtual battle. Lights danced, code shimmered. Sparks of digital combat lit the dark stadium like stars in motion. Screams of excitement echoed as plasma blades clashed with invisible shields, and avatars leaped, rolled, and struck with impossible speed. This was the Apex Trials, the greatest simulation tournament in the galaxy. Held once every cycle, only the most elite species could compete. And today, the final round had begun. But the door hissed open. A figure walked in late. She was small, thin, quiet, human. A few chuckles rolled through the audience like a wave of confusion. Who was this girl? Her name was Dayun, a human girl with soft brown hair tied back, eyes calm and sharp. She held a metal cup in one hand and a datapad in the other. She looked nothing like a fighter. No armor, no glowing suit, not even a weapon. The announcer, a tall lizard-like Tarn, looked nervous. "You are... Dayun blinked. "Oh, sorry I'm late. Transport issue." She took a slow sip. "Name's Dayun? Mind if I still join?" The crowd laughed, louder this time. One of the commentators, a crusty Grohl commander, barked, "This must be a joke. A civilian? Did Earth send a T-girl to an elite warzone?" Inside the simulation chamber, 12 alien warriors paused. Noticing the delay, among them stood the undefeated warlord Gorak, champion of the reptilian Vernox race. Over 7 feet tall in real life, his digital avatar burned like a green comet of destruction. He had already taken down 4 opponents. 2 more had fled the battlefield. The rest only delayed their doom now. He turned toward the new challenger and laughed. "Is this your champion, Earth? A soft-blooded child?" The Tarn officials hesitated. The rules were clear. Any registered combatant with a valid Neuralink implant could enter even late. They scanned Dayun's ID chip, her registration. "Is valid?" one technician said quietly. "Fine," the announcer grumbled. "Slot 13 unlocked. You may enter the sim chamber." Dayun stepped forward slowly, calm, focused. The crowd jeered, some even shouting, "Go home, little human." She didn't look back. The simulation pod hissed open. A pulse of blue light swallowed her form as the Neuralink synced her consciousness. With the virtual battlefield, the audience held its breath. Inside the simulation, her avatar appeared. It looked almost exactly like her real self. No armor, no weapons, just a loose scarf around her neck. She stood barefoot on the glowing digital floor, surrounded by towering, armored avatars from across the galaxy. The AI system blinked. "Combat. Loadout incomplete. Recommend cancel and reload."
"Oh,"
Dayun said aloud, her voice calm inside the chamber. "This is the move." The crowd roared again, half in laughter, half in disbelief. The commentator shook his head. "No armor? No weapon? Not even a shield?"
Warlord Gorak
pointed his glowing battle axe at her. "I will delete you with one strike. This is no place for riddles and tea." But Dayun smiled gently. "Then come." In the simulation, Gorak's avatar growled like a star engine, charging forward with full neural speed, launched across the arena like a meteor, green flames trailing behind his twin plasma axes. Every footstep cracked the floor. Every breath carried death. The crowd gasped. Dayun didn't move. She didn't blink. Not a pixel changed, and then everything shattered. Gorak's avatar, still midair, twisted unnaturally. His axes froze. His code flickered. Then, like glass meeting sound, his entire form exploded into fragments of broken data. Sparks. Silence. Gone. The arena froze. The AI paused for a full second, then blinked. Apex code anomaly detected. Executing combat logic audit winner. Dayun. Duration 0.73 seconds. No one spoke. In the real-world chamber, Gorak tore off his neural visor. He stood trembling, eyes wide, sweat pouring down his face. She cheated, shouted. That wasn't combat. Do-yoon stepped calmly out of the simulation pod and sipped her tea again. Actually, she said softly, that was the only real combat here. Technicians ran to the console trying to understand what had just happened. The simulation wasn't broken. Her code was clean. But something had forced the system to crash only his combat avatar. Show her simulation code. One official barked. Lines of glowing text scrolled across the main screen. She had made only one change. Her avatar's idle state had been programmed with recursive feedback loops. The AI had tried to read and predict every potential move from her still position and had entered an infinite loop of possibilities. Gorak had attacked while the simulation core was still calculating. She never struck. She never blocked. She broke the battlefield, eh? Tarn technician whispered. But why did it crash only his avatar? Do-yoon smiled faintly. Because he struck at the exact moment the system reached critical recursion. Humans call that lag. Across the galaxy, the footage went viral. Human girl destroys Apex warlord. Without moving, Earth's first victory in the arena. The move was doing nothing. Commentators debated whether it was legal. Fighters called it cowardly. Engineers stared at the simulation breakdown like it was ancient magic, but none could deny the result. Gorex the Great Warlord had been deleted by a human girl who didn't even raise a hand. Later that week, in a hidden training hall, a Zarn instructor gathered his new recruits and said, "Never underestimate humans. They don't just fight, they understand. And sometimes they don't break the rules, they just rewrite them." Far away, on the cold volcanic world of Vernox Prime, Warlord Gorak stood in silence, replaying the moment over and over. His jump. The blink, then nothing. He didn't understand the code, but he remembered the look in Do-yoon's eyes before the match. It wasn't arrogance. It was certainty. It wasn't strength. It wasn't speed. It was silence, and across the galaxy. No one could explain how silence had defeated the strongest warrior of the Apex trials, Do-yoon. The human girl who had arrived late and stood still became the name on every screen, every news channel, every war academy, every combat sim training hall. They played her move over and over. She had blink-tanned the Vernox warlord Gorak. Undefeated in 11 straight simulations, had vanished like dust in the cold metal hallways of Nora 5, a neutral science vessel floating just outside Concord space. Dune sat quietly beside a window, sipping warm tea. Her mentor, Seung-min, walked in, holding a datapad. "Your match has already been watched by over 7 billion viewers," he said, eyebrows raised. "And 6 species have filed official complaints." Do-yoon shrugged. "Was I supposed to lose because I'm human?" He sat beside her, sighing. "No one expected you to win, especially not like that." "Good," she said. "Let them stay confused." Far away, in the Vernox training halls carved into stone mountains, Warlord Gorak trained alone. Every hour, every day he replayed the match in his neural chamber. He tried to understand, but it wasn't brute force he needed. It was understanding. Something he had never cared for until. Now his commanders told him to forget the loss. But Gorak couldn't forget her face. That calm expression, the stillness, certainty. Back in the Tarn Dominion, the Concord Council gathered inside there. Silver Tower. 12 leaders from 12 species. The room glowed with bright holograms showing Do-yoon's match in high detail. The Tarn security chief grunted. She didn't cheat. The system wasn't tricked. Her code was valid. "It's dangerous," hissed a Zarn representative. She broke the spirit of the game. She collapsed the battlefield. "She didn't destroy it," a Groll ambassador said. "She found its weakest point," impressed. The Concord Council had never faced this kind of problem. The rules had been followed. But the galaxy had been embarrassed. A human girl with no armor, no weapons, no history had walked into their greatest trial and rewritten the ending. Back on Nora 5, Do-yoon sat with her old professor Ji-woo in a quiet lab room filled with blinking lights. "You planned this?" Ji-woo asked. "Not exactly," Do-yoon replied. I wrote the recursive idle state years ago, back in Earth's University sim labs. We used it to crash test environments. But I noticed this system still used a similar base structure. I just waited. When he charged, the loop reached peak strain. The simulation engine cracked. Jiwoo chuckled. And you didn't swing a single digital finger. Duh. Noon looked down at her cup. Sometimes doing nothing is the most powerful move. But only if you understand what nothing really is. Weeks passed. Then months. Alien species across the galaxy began reprogramming their simulation systems. New rules were added. No recursive idle states. No cross-loop feedback. No human lag tactics. But the change had already begun. War colleges started teaching. Dahyun's match is a case study in mental warfare. Engineers studied her code like scripture. Soldiers stopped laughing when humans walked into the room, and across Concord space they whispered one line again and again. The girl who didn't move changed everything. One cycle later, Dahyun was invited to speak at the Galactic Strategy Assembly. She stepped onto the stage, still in her simple clothes, holding her usual tea. Reporters filled the massive room. 1,000 alien eyes focused on her. She smiled. "Thank you for having me," she said. "I'm not a soldier. I'm not a warrior. I'm a systems thinker. I study patterns. I watch behavior. That's all." One alien stood up, a sharp clawed. "In Axie, General? You embarrassed our greatest warriors? Is that your goal?" "No," Dahyun said. "My goal was to show that fighting isn't just punching harder. It's understanding better." Another asked, "Do all humans fight like you?" She shrugged. "Most don't, but they could, and some already do." That scared them more than any weapon ever had. On the way back to her ship, Dahyun was stopped by a quiet figure. It was Gorok, alone. No armor. No roar. "I came to see it again," he said. She nodded. "It's public. You can download it."
Oh.
He said, eyes firm. "I want to see you. The moment before the match, you looked at me. You already knew." Didn't smile this time, just answered plainly, "Because you showed everything you were going to do. Thought power was always forward. But power can be still." He bowed his head slightly. "Not as a warrior, but as a student. I've never been beaten like that," said. "I never wanted to beat you," Dahyun replied. "I wanted to teach you. We all have limits. The real warriors know where to find them themselves and in systems." The warlord didn't answer. He turned and walked away. Dahyun stood there for a while, watching him disappear into the crowd. Later that night in her room, she turned off the lights and watched the stars outside. Seungmin came in quietly and leaned against the wall. "Just made 1,000 enemies." "Maybe," she said, "but also something else." "What?" He handed her a news scroll. It read, "New Concord Protocols. Human strategy now mandatory study in all tactical schools." She raised an eyebrow. "I didn't think they'd actually do it." "You didn't just change a match," Seungmin said. "You changed the game." Looked out the window again and smiled. Far away, deep underground. In a hidden base, 3 Vernox students sat around a small projection. It replayed the match again and again. Each time they paused on her blink. Each time they shook their heads in wonder. How do we beat her? One asked. The teacher, an older Vernox, stepped into the light and said quietly, "You don't. You learn from her, because humans, they don't always win by being stronger. They win by seeing the rules, then bending them until they break." End of part 2. Let me know if you want a poster-style image, quote designs, or a cinematic video script adaptation based on this.